Hello again once more. Here we are back in Minmus Orbit, Kerbal Space Program in the career mode playthrough, Brave New World. So far no mods, still haven't really felt the need to add any. Here we are, we're picking up where we left off. We've got Jeb, Milfred and Hudson in Minmus Orbit, docked to our new shiny new space station. So what we're going to do is grab hold of this. Transfer crew, no crew on part, right. So we're going to here, transfer crew. Who is the scientist? The scientist is Hudson, so he is going to transfer into there, into the mobile processing lab. Doesn't have any sciences yet. So what I need to do, start research doesn't do anything. Transmit science doesn't have any, so what I need to do now is... right, so what we do now is we transfer all of this science into the mobile processing lab. So this has now got 360 odd data, so start research. So instead of taking science back with us, this is now going to do some science. It'll generate 2 point whatever a day, and every now and again it won't beam stuff back. We'll have to come back out here and tell it, I want you to beam me some science back. But that's done. So while the gang are in orbit, let's just go back to the space station and the space center. Tidy up as usual, and see what else we've got in terms of missions cropping up. Ooh, Flyby Eve, yeah, oh yeah, we're having that one. Side data from space around Minmus. Yes, grab that. And the reason for doing that is because we can currently go Minmus Gateway, fly that'll take us back where we are. Here we are. We need to bring some science back, so what we're going to do here is a crew report. We could pass that on to the lab. I'm not going to. We're going to keep that one. What we're going to do now is undock. And I want the spacecraft, not that bit. So stability, reaction control, back us away. And we will leave our scientist to his own devices. Lucky him. But anyway. How much reaction fuel have we got on this thing still? Fair bit. Because we obviously got these lower level tanks. Right. What we now need to do with this is go home. Now I believe we're talking about there for going home. I could be wrong. It has been known to happen on occasion. So what is that? Kerbal periapsis. All I want to do is see about where that gets to a minimum, which is around there, and then that's about where we want that. So kill the reaction control thrusters because I don't need those anymore. 170 odd, that'll get us home, just about. So again, as before, see space station's over there. I want to just make sure that when I turn the engines on, I don't end up pointing at the space station and trying to fly through the middle of it. Because that could be somewhat embarrassing. Turn the engine back up, might as well. 19-second burn, so we've got a little while to go before we need to do that. And now this, like I say, every now and again we just need to remember to come back to this station and say, how much science have you got? And can you send it home, please? And they will. And that, we're going to turn probably 250 odd science into about 700 odd by doing it that way. Get rid of that. I want to see Kerbin periapsis. 20. 20 is a little bit too low. Don't want to be 20. So, I'm going to adjust slightly. There we are. That'll do. Surface. Yeah, warp all the way out there. Why not? So this one we're going to get back. We're not going to be bringing much science back, as noted, because basically we've left it all there for Hudson to play with. But that's fine. We'll do this. So it's just another 13 odd science points. So we are getting science, you see. 170. We can unlock another thing, which is going to be useful, because the next thing we're doing is flying by Eve. This is the Venus analogy in the game, and true to form of pretending to be Venus, it is a truly evil place. We're not going to be landing there though, so I don't care. We're going to be sending a flyby mission, uncrewed. We're going to do some science there, and we're going to beam it home. So, a fairly straightforward mission, I hope. We shall see. Right, let's get this home. And I'll catch you back out to the space station in a minute. And here we are back. So we've gathered a little bit of science, but not much. Delete all the messages from there. Let's see what we've got on here. So yeah, we've got a few other bits and pieces to do. There's a flag on Minmus mission, which is worth grabbing. Basically, I'd grab the more interesting missions. So, explore Eve. So what do we got to do? Just literally fly by Eve. That's it. Nothing else. Now, I can't quite remember what the angle is for Eve. I think Eve needs to be a little bit ahead. If you'll bear with me one moment, I'm going to go and look this up. Okay, so I've had a little bit of a look at this. We want Kerbin. If Kerbin is there, we want Eve, which is this one, to be about down here. So we've got a little while to go before we get there. But we can build the craft, get there, and then launch. And the amount of fuel we're going to need to get there is a little over 1,000 odd. So if we build a satellite that's got 1,000 odd and we can get it into orbit, we should be able to do this. In practice, I'm going to want a bit more fuel than that, because I don't trust my abilities to fly things. So we've got that. I don't believe... Actually, sorry, let me just leave this. Don't save. What I want to do is see whether we can unlock anything we might find useful on this particular trip. Specialized control, no. That landing, no. Actuators, no. Precision propulsion, yeah. Not really, but I'm going to grab it anyway. It's just more small engines. Right, okay, so we don't need to worry about that. What I'm now going to do is build a satellite, which is going to start with that. Is going to have a battery bolted under it, and on top of it, it is going to have a control wheel underneath it. It is then going to have a Science Junior, because frankly, if I'm going all that way, I want some reward for going all that way. we are going to grab a pair of those, a triplet of those. We are now going to need some antennas. Now we're going a little bit further than usual, so I'm going to stick one of them on, and 3 of those. So this thing will deploy and it'll have a fair bit of antenna capability. Science now. This is where it gets interesting. We are going to be doing science in multiple locations on this mission, because we are going to be doing it in space and on in Eve orbit. Well, not Eve orbit, Eve flyby. I don't want orbit because I want to set that to be a separate mission. I'm not taking 2 science juniors, so that will be only in Eve. But overall, that'll do it. I mean, that is our little thing. Eve flyby 1. It's not going to be breaking into Eve orbit anytime soon. It doesn't need to. Engines, we've got lots of engines now. We need fuel tanks. I'm going to give it one of those, and I'm going to give it a Terrier. I don't really need the Terriers. I can give it a couple of the little Twitch engines instead. The Spider's basically the little ant engine we were using. Actually, I might use some of those. Put some of those on there. So you see, that, from Kerbal in orbit, that is quite capable of getting itself onto an Eve flyby mission. So that's what we're going to do. That has a weight of 2 tons. So getting that into orbit should not be particularly difficult, I would like to think. I could be wrong. We'll go with the stack separators. Again, seriously, knock that back. Gonna stick an aero shell on the thing because well, because I want to be able to get it where it's going, quite frankly. Right, that now needs something that'll get it into space. Now, as you can probably guess, this is not going to need a huge launch vehicle. So I'm going to put one of those and a Terrier. That's an upper stage. We'll give that a lower stage as well. Go with the stack separators again because they're quite fun. Right, so they're going to activate together. That's going to activate together. This is vacuum performance. Is silly levels, but that's fine. Sea level is less, but that doesn't really matter. And we're going to have one of those, and a swivel engine if I can. And if I want to see what that performance of that's like, so that 1.2. Its performance off the ground isn't amazing. Because its performance off the ground isn't amazing, it's going to get some it's going to get a couple of boosters, and it's going to get some fairly simple boosters, but it's only going to get 2 of them. Engines, give it, where's that hammer engine we were using? There we are, a couple of those. I don't believe it'll need anything more than that for this. Aero. Like that. That fires up at the same time. Show all. Plenty of performance off the pad. In fact, I'm actually going to go in and turn those down. Yeah, 1.7 is fine. I don't want it to burn too long. So that's saying that'll burn for 51 seconds. They'll jettison, we'll have another 30 seconds worth of the core, which is fine. I'm then going to go, I don't trust those engines on their own not to go all over the place, so we'll do that. We'll do that. because again we need a little bit of stability, like so. Right. Okay, Eve Flyby 1. So what we now need to do is leave there without taking it to the pad. We need to go here and we need to fast forward. You see, this is we're now going to get lots of this, and before we do this I'm also going to jump back to that little Minmus Gateway Station and we'll see how Hudson's getting on. Should be quite nice. So we shall see here. It would be nice to get something on here that all messages. We actually told you what the phase angles were, because you really do have to estimate off here. There are mods which will calculate all this stuff for you, and indeed will create the maneuver and all this sort of stuff for you. Yeah, can't say I'm that bothered. It's not specifically I want to do all this stuff by hand, it's just I can't be bothered to install the mods. Besides, the game rapidly, if you put too many of the mods in, especially some of the pilot mods and so on and so forth, rapidly becomes a game where you're not actually flying anything. What you're doing is designing spacecraft. Now I think that's not far off. So what I'm going to do is... how do I... There, I'll get back. Just trying to look around. How the hell do I get out of this place? Right, so actually the one thing I do want to do before we launch that is Minmus Gateway. Let's fly that. As you see, here we are. This now has got... yeah, huge amounts of science. So what I'm going to do is say transmit that science. Where we are going to have a problem because I don't actually have the power to do it. So I'll do that there. There we are. Right. So yes, this is the other thing I forgot. You do need a lot of battery power to transmit all this science. So what I'm going to do, so we're starting off on 80 odd. Transmit. Now this, what I should probably have done actually is gather some of the science and then tell it not to. Okay, so transmit science. Okay, right, we'll come back to that. There's lots of science there. What I'm going to have to do is send... there we are, back here. What I'm going to have to do is send another craft out there with another chunk of batteries. Yeah, whatever, can do that. But you see, that's got 700 odd science on board, which is a lot. So we'll deal with that. So if I now go here and I did it, Eve Flyby, load that, and then launch it. Again, we'll warp to daylight because I like to launch things in daylight. So warp to morning. Stability on, see what orbit we've got, full throttle, and off we go. With a mission to fly by Eve, the purple moon, well, the purple planet, it's not a moon, where dreams are made and then shattered cruelly. Because Eve is horrible. Really, really easy to land on with a little bit of care. Its atmosphere is ridiculously thick, so you just use parachutes, but you need a good heat shield. Once you've got that, you land, you do whatever. Coming home is the tricky bit. Eve is sort of the final boss of the Kerbal system. It is quite easy to get anywhere else without worrying too much about what you're doing. Whereas Eve is just nasty. Nasty, nasty place. It's got quite a nice moon though, Gilly. It's not really less of a moon and more of a tame asteroid. It's weird in this. Venus in our system doesn't have a moon, and Mars has got two very small ones. Here, the Mars analogy, Duna, has got an absolutely honking great moon, whereas the Eve analogy has the tiny one. So that is very firmly getting us into space, so that'll do. We shall go up to space. Get rid of that. Go for circularization. Again, I suppose really I should have set these up to work nicely. Yeah, see, that gives us a huge amount of communications ability, which actually we're going to need. So we are... So T-minus 45 seconds we shall fire the engines. And we're going to use a lot of what we've got on this upper stage to get into orbit, but that's fine because that's exactly what it's for. And then obviously we've got the diddy little engines to get us where we're actually going. But that's fine, can live with that. There's the first of our interplanetary probes. We'll be doing something similar to get into Eve orbit, because again you go get some science from space around Eve. Sometimes space around, sometimes space near. The solution is you have one satellite in quite an elliptical orbit that can do both. So we're going to do this Eve flyby mission, and then at some point I'm going to go and send another bit out to that Minmus space station, which will basically be a power module, a small craft with a little bit more solar and a huge amount of batteries on board, so that the thing can beam its science home. Complete own goal. This one here will suffer a similar problem, but I can beam the individual science experiments back separately, which makes life simpler. We won't get a vast amount of science from this. We'll get some. We won't get vast amounts simply because the distances involved. You don't get so much science when you're beaming things over a long distance. But yeah, whatever. Can live with that. And all we're doing here is getting into a sensible orbit. That'll do. Because what I now need to do is plot the orbit to get us to Eve. Now I believe I need to do it from the back. So if I set Eve as the target, we'll see what we're going to do. All I've got to do is get the Eve encounter. I'm not really bothered about anything else at this point. Add maneuver. So, and we're going out a lot further than we have done before. So here we have our... And that's burning outwards. So that's exactly the incorrect place to put it. It needs to be here. which will then bring us inbound. Yeah. And as you can see, we're already not brilliant. Descending node, a few degrees off. Isn't ideal. And so oop. There we are. Our closest approach point is over here somewhere. So if I see, that's saying we're quite a way off. What I want to do is there we go, we had it then. There, that's what we need. Eve encounter, and we can do another burn later to get hold of that one. Node in whatever, yeah, 3, yeah, okay. We'll do what we can with that. As long as I know I'm heading in vaguely the right direction, I can do a fine adjustment later. The other thing sometimes to watch out for, you go into planetary, you'll find you end up burning towards Kerbin, which is fine. As long as you're fairly certain what you're doing, if that makes sense. If you're in, like say, I'm in a 75-kilometre orbit, you can actually find sometimes your interplanetary burns go horribly wrong because you end up dropping to like 60 kilometres into the atmosphere doing it, and your lovely orbital spacecraft then burns up, which is embarrassing. Ask me how I know this. Yeah, been there, done that. Anyway, so we shall see. Now this is going to have about a good chunk of fuel left, actually. I don't think it'll be able to get into Eve orbit. If it can, it will. I don't think it will be able to, though. I don't think I'm going to have the fuel to circularise the orbit. Well, to get an orbit at the other end. We'll see. But, yeah. Now, the bulk of this fuel is actually being used getting out of Kerbin's gravity well. So that's what we're doing here. To actually get from Kerbin's gravity well to Eve as an encounter is less than 100 meters per second of fuel. Really is tiny, but you need to burn like 900 odd to get out of Kerbin. Which obviously, if you're coming back in from interplanetary space, you also need to burn the same to stop, which is a bit. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is try and get this manoeuvre as close as I can. I doubt I'm going to get the encounter on this. I might do. If we're lucky, I will. If I don't, what I'll then be doing is a correction burn somewhere to get it. So again, these aren't particularly powerful engines. We're not accelerating particularly quickly. But it does make actually this sort of manoeuvring at distance that I want to do quite accurately fairly well. I'd like to do pretty much all the engine burns while in Kerbin orbit, if possible, or near to Kerbin. If we lose signal, you can't control the engines. But what I'd rather do is go around and see what happens. And see, this is where if we get a good encounter with Eve, and this one doesn't look too bad, this is where your ability to capture starts to become reasonable. Here we go. So we've now left. So you can see the orange line curving inwards, heading towards the purple dots. Keep on track for that. We should get close to where we're trying to get to. It's moving because I didn't quite start the burn in time. So I'm ready to shut down. Yeah, see, we've not quite got the encounter. We're not far off. We're not quite got it. So what I'm going to do is say, are we... There we are. We've now got the encounter. So if I do that... Eve periapsis is what I'm looking at. There we are. That's about as good as we're going to get. And to be honest, I can live with that. Woo! And it zoomed us all the way out again. Right. What we're now going to do is leave Kerbin. Leaving Kerbin far behind, wherever it is. Be around somewhere. How can you lose a planet? Anyway, we are now in orbit around the sun. So what I'm now going to do is say, observe the goo. Space high over the sun. And what we're going to do is we're going to transmit that. Log the temperature, and I'm going to transmit that, which doesn't give us much. Log the pressure data, and transmit that. Which again, doesn't give us much. But it's a little bit. It's nice. I mean, it's there. So about 100 odd bits of science. And what we're then going to do is follow this orbital path. I don't know about there. See what this is doing there. The blue is where we are. The purple is where we're going to be after we've encountered Eve. So I need to be careful what I'm clicking on when I say warp here, because I don't want to be warping towards the second orbit, so to speak. I want to get to Eve. You see, our signal strength is reasonable. Battery power is okay. This is again because we've got the solar panels that will deal with all the alignment problems themselves. Warp here, keep going. And because we're going lower into the system, we are picking a few other bits up. What on earth's that? Oh, Monolith X relay. Oh yes, this is where we had another one that went a little bit wrong, shall we say. I'm curious. I'm going to see what this has got on it. Oh yeah, this is this little log temperature. Yeah, we're not going to get anything else transmitting that. I forgot this thing went out there. This is why we haven't received much else. Yeah, gathers first scientific data from the sun. Yeah, I just completely forgot. And a relay, zoom out. Where's the other one? Kerbin, I want that one. Switch back to that. Zoom out because I want to see what I'm doing again. So, what I want is to get near where we get to Eve. I am going to try a braking manoeuvre. Like I say, I'm not holding my breath. But this will instigate the flyby, which is quite nice. We've currently lost signal because we're too far away. So I might not be able to do the flyby. You see, what we might have to do is gather the science and then flip back out again until we get back into contact. So we've got plenty of power. We're just out of communications range. We will get back into range. And I think I can tell it to use these and turn the engine on and off. But I think all you get is full throttle or nothing. I seem to remember that there's something about that, and it's designed so that you can treat it as if it's like a pre-programmed maneuver of some description. Right, let's go into Eve Flyby. And see what we can get. As I can gather all the science. What I can't do is get it back. So we've done the Eve Flyby bit. There's Gilly, which is the little moon. So how to maneuver? Yeah, can't do control. Yeah, can't do maneuvers. Can do that, which is nice. So this is always going to be science high above. So I am going to do that. And you see, this is going to give us a lot of science. It won't give us a huge amount transmitting it, but it'll give us some. Keep that. We'll do log pressure. Keep that. And log temperature. Keep that. But notably, what I can't do is beam that home. What I can do is warp there and hope against expectation, I might be able to break into a suitable orbit. Probably not. I mean, the other thing to do would be go the other way and boost, and then I know I'll get back to within Kerbin range. But yeah. As I say, I strongly suspect this thing does not have enough fuel to capture, but we will see. It's interesting to know we get the mission, the rewards for the mission, pretty much regardless as to whether we actually ever beam that science home again, which is quite nice. Yeah, we're going to get nowhere near an orbit with this. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter, damn it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, here we go. Just about run out of fuel. There we go. Engine's burnt out. No sign. Oh, no, there's Eve. Look at that. We found Eve. Whee! I'll grab a picture of that. I like the look of Eve. There we are. Done. Right. So, the next thing I need to do is basically wait until that gets back into Kerbin range. It's highly likely I'll send a proper orbiter there long before that happens. So, we'll leave that at that. We'll go and see what else we get. The next one is probably going to be an orbit. thing. Explore Eve, there we are. Orbit Eve, gather science data, return from Eve orbit. That's doable because it's Eve orbit, not anything else. Psi data, surface of Minmus, yada yada yada. Well, we already know. I mean, this... Build a new orbital station around... See, we've basically done that. The problem is what we can't do is it has to be a new one. So I can't just go and bolt some extra bits onto the existing one, which is annoying. Right, what have we got in here? Flag on Minmus, which means psi data from surface of Minmus is being grabbed as well. And that'll be for the next episode. So, next episode is going to see, like I say, a power module sent to that space station. And another lander mission with a redesigned booster stage again, so that the lander can get there. Yes. If you've enjoyed this, click on the likes. If you haven't, click on the dislike. Although if you haven't, why are you still watching? Any comments, etc., all gratefully received. In the meanwhile, I will catch you all next time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.